It's Wednesday, 24th of September 2025, and in today's show, very late show, we rejoice over some injury time limbs as Jordan Brown sends Bloomfield Road into last-minute ecstasy against Barnsley on Saturday, and we're also looking ahead to another War of the Roses, this time in West Yorkshire, as Blackpool travel to table-topping Bradford City this coming Saturday. I'm John Aspinall. This is Seaside's podcast, Match Reaction Show. Blackpool 1, Barnsley 0. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Seaside's podcast on a unprecedented late time slot. The late show, 9 p.m. on a Wednesday, random times, but the only time we could all get together. But thankfully we are together. Nick, Andy, and Mitch joining us on the panel. Mitch, you've come straight from work.
I have.
And would you like to tell the viewers and listeners out there what you were attired with when we were all chatting in the green room, and in a very quick change into the hoodie you're in now? He looked almost professional.
I had my very smart work clothes on, and when I looked at myself on the screen, I thought, "Oh, Harry Hill's on."
Did I notice on Navy FTT there's a best bald Blackpool player red in the week?
Yeah,
I did think of you, Mitch, but new media personality, I was thinking, but not player. Who's the best baldy we've ever had?
Well, it has to be Raggy, doesn't it? If we're going on media personalities, but best ball player we've ever had. Wayne Gill pops into my head as the most bald goals in a short space of time from midfield.
Best baldy, Nick?
Very, very specific thread, that, isn't it?
Nick, best baldy?
Well, I did think of Wayne Gill. Scully.
Yeah, Scully's coming in the comments.
Favorite, yeah. I think for our age, we'd probably go Scully.
Best baldy, Andy. Welcome, Andy. The Grice Reaper is back, by the way. Back by popular demand. We'd be very interested to hear the Grice Reaper's thoughts.
Not from working. Bloody hell. For a change. Cricket and work absolutely done me in. God knows I can't remember but more than these two guys.
Barry Siddle.
I give up.
Best bald goalie.
Yeah. Fair shout.
Any more balls?
So God knows. I don't know. I can't remember any off the top of my head.
No pun intended.
Last week I said bring back mustaches, didn't I? So this week bring back baldies.
Or baldies with bits of hair left and sort of combed over Bobby Charlton. So.
Donnarumma's bringing back that look, isn't he? I mean, he's very unusual in modern footballers. He hasn't had the work done, and he hasn't shaved it off either. So he's got that kind of your mate's dad look to it.
Just noticed this comment from James Ward Joinery. Free plug for you there, James. Evening, gents. I have to start saying I have no sympathy for those who left early. Never leave early. On the goal, on the highlights reels, are quite funny seeing the celebrations going on in the corner, because you see one or two people legging it back from the concourse to join in with the celebrations. I think, what a mistake am I making, Nick? Oh no,
I did see it. No, I made my way down after about, I don't know what it was, 95 minutes. We always just never leave, but we always stand in the tunnel. I stood with Deeks and a couple of others, and I was in for the loo, and I thought, I'll hang on. I said to Jim, I think we'd had a moment just before that had come to nothing. I was like, that's it. And so I legged it under the stand, and I was just watching the telly, and obviously you hear the cheer like 2 seconds before you see it on the feed. I was like, bloody hell. So I did see it, and I was in the ground. I just wasn't quite bad a pitch where I had been 5 seconds early. But at least I didn't do a full Smith and go. I've not done that for a while, to be fair.
You've not done a Smith for a while, have you?
No. So I
First
did
one of
see
the
it.
season. Well, you technically didn't, did you? Not in the flesh. You did do a Smith.
Partial.
Okay, let's get on with the action. Blackpool welcomed Barnsley to Bloomfield Road on Saturday, and this is how we lined up. The Peacock in net, from right to left as ever, Imre, Heckway, Casey and Coulson. Josh Bowler, Honeyman, Morgan in the middle, Scott Banks on the left with Ash Fletcher and now Ennis up front. Mitch, come to you first. I think there was one obvious sigh when that team was released. Let's see if you picked up on the same one as we all did.
Yeah. Well, it was the heart of defence. I mean, I went on the Tuesday before to see, and so I didn't go just to see Horsfall, but I went and saw Horsfall play, and I was quite impressed with him, actually. What I liked about Horsfall, it wasn't particularly his defensive work, but the way he really drove forward from defence and sort of connected the defence and midfield together, and which is something we've really lacked a player to do that. And I thought, right, he played pretty well. You'll get him in there, and hopefully we'll look a bit more together. So that was one of them, really. I mean, I was pleased enough to see Bowler and Banks playing, and I think Ennis and Fletcher together are probably they're certainly the most proven pair that we have up front. But yeah, I'm guessing it was a centre of defence like everybody else.
Nick, penny for your thoughts when you saw the lineup?
Similar to Mitch, I wouldn't have minded seeing Horsfall in there. I was pleased with Bowler and Banks. Obviously, we're not going to be playing Ashworth at left back at any point by the look of it. So it's Coulson. Was a bit concerned that I like Honeyman and Morgan, but would we get neither of them are going to do what Brown does, and we're only seemingly going to stick with 4-4-2 and play a 2. So I was a little bit worried that will we get overrun in midfield, which can easily happen because most teams have a 3 in there, and like Mitch says up top, that's probably the best pairing we've got.
Andy, over to you. I'd be quite interested to hear your thoughts on the left back berth.
Like, he should have been binned off.
Who?
I think Coulson. I did feel as though, like the rest, I thought that was a team they was going to go with, apart from Horsfall, for a few reasons, really. I don't like Coulson at left back. I just don't. And like, as hard as he tries and whatever else, it's an accident waiting to happen, in my opinion. But there you go. And like, I think Ashworth's been with us long enough to deserve a little bit of a go. Although when he played at Bolton, it was a wing back rather than a left back. But anyway, that by the by. And I thought with him playing Bowler and Banks, that me assuming that Bowler would play wide on the right would mean that he'd have to play Fletcher to try and bridge the gap between the midfield and attack and try and give a third person in the middle. But I don't like Morgan coming back and collecting the ball off the centre back. So I really felt that Horsfall was better option for us because he will step forward. But hey ho, I don't think we were going to see much other changes, to be honest. I don't think he was ever going to play Taylor up front instead of Ennis. And for the reasons I said before, that I thought Fletcher had to play.
The whole Horsfall thing's a real strange one, just to the room. I just can't get my head around it. I did hear someone saying maybe he's was it Tim who said actually last week, maybe he said something untoward to Steve Bruce that he's not liked, and he's punishing him with never playing him. Obviously he's coming in the week So you expected him to play on Saturday, but no. And we didn't
I think he
start
was
the game.
captain, wasn't he? He was captain at Stockport and well liked as captain and well thought of by the supporters. So.
I would say Heckway, I know it was a low bar from the starting point. He has settled down a little bit in the last couple of games. I suppose we don't see what goes on the training pitch, do we? But we spent a lot of, they're probably on decent wages. And remember at the time we signed Horsfall, it said we've blown a few teams out of the water. So he's sat on the bench on very good money, isn't he? But he doesn't seem to be first choice. I mean, he'll probably get a chance through injury or suspension soon enough, won't he? And then I suppose it's down to him to try and nail it. But he was, a key player for Stockport, and they finished, in and around the playoffs, didn't they? So you'd expect him to be decent for us. I know when he came, he had an injury, didn't he? Played that first game, but he was carrying an injury. And you would have thought with the earlier season form of a Heckway that he might have got his chance. But yeah, it is a bit of a head scratch. You could understand it if Heckway was stand out 9 out of 10 every week and he was undroppable. But I don't really think that's been the case. Although, like I say, last couple of games he has been better. I thought he was reasonably steady overall on Saturday. So I would expect that that's going to continue.
Okay, on to the game. Switch graphics. I've just seen a comment from Big Dog. Where it is? There it is. Honeyman and Morgan are too lightweight in the middle. Something to be said for that. And the first chance from Barnsley, and we started as ever, Mitch. As Blackpool seem to in games this season very poorly right from the outset. They're in on the right hand side. The run wasn't tracked by Honeyman, I noticed, and just cleared at the near post, and could quite easily have been one down very early on in the game. Just not very slow out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a week ago the game now, doing podcasts at this time, but they got in right hand side and then they got in left hand side as well. They seem to be able to just cut behind our fullbacks, just play a little ball behind our fullbacks really, really easily. I think the chance you refer to actually was probably the one good thing Coulson did in the first half. I think it was him that made that near post interception, and he had a really quite ropey first half. But generally, Barnsley looked able to get the ball down, to play, to move quickly. They used space pretty well. They looked really coherent. And we just seemed to keep just banging the ball back to them and just giving it back to them time and time again. And it was, as you say, from the off, we were on the back foot, and we stayed pretty much on the back foot all the way through that first half, barring the odd breakaway chance.
Yeah.
Nick, can you put your finger on this? Why this is a constant, particularly at Bloomfield Road?
Well, I think we get it was reminded me of Bolton at home. It was another side who I think someone said in the comments there they had a finish who would have been in trouble. We barely seemed to be able to hang on to the ball for longer than 2 or 3 seconds, and didn't look like we had much of a plan when we had it. Compare that to them, and all right, they've had a lot of possession and not done a lot with it, but you could see what their plan was. Like Mitch said, they're shifting the ball about quickly, they're getting in behind, they looked energetic. We just looked like we didn't have much of a plan really when we got the ball. It was kind of like, I've got it, what's in front of me, not a lot, I'll have to go long with it, and inevitably then we just give the ball away. We did nothing to build any patterns of play. Imre tried to get forward, and he's very good at doing that. That was our main threat, really. Give it the right back and hope he can pretty much run the length of the pitch. And Banks had moments as well. But they doubled up on Bowyer, which I think teams probably will do. They know what a danger he is. And then we don't seem to drive anything through the middle of the park. So it probably comes a bit down to formation as well, like it has done a lot of times this season. And we don't press. So we're not putting the opposition under any pressure to win the ball back. So it's a combination of things, really. And when you look at it, it's not really a surprise we end up with, what was the possession in that first half? 30% to 70%. I was talking to someone at half time in the queue, a guy who watches the podcast. Good evening, sir, if you're listening. And we were both just saying the same thing. It's like we're playing a team from a division above in the cup, and we're not really sure what do we push forward or we try and contain them because they've got really good players. Well, that can't be the plan for the season, and it certainly can't be the plan at home. I think obviously there was something said at half time because we came out a bit more on the front foot, but we do that every game, and we'll come up against someone who can put the ball in the net. It could be out of sight by half time. Playing like that. It just feels. I think Mitch said in either one of the pods or in his blog, it feels a bit lazy. You're still looking and thinking, well, what have we worked on in the last week on the training ground? It's almost like off you go again. Let's hope someone has a moment of brilliance. Seems to be the plan, really. So it was 0-0, and then there was something to build on, I suppose, for the second half. But it was a bit 90s football and pub for me that first half, and it happens quite a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah. Andy, come to you. We did have one half chance in the first half, I guess. Banks has drilled one into far corner, decent save by the keeper down your end. But just draw your attention to quite a few people in the comments are all saying the same thing. The midfield's too lightweight with just those two in there. What's your thoughts on that, and just your general thoughts on the first half? Were we still lucky to be in the game?
Well, definitely. McGoldrick was dropping into that space on the left-hand side, wasn't he? Just drawing out, working with their left winger or left wing back really well, and creating some space and just dropping it inside. Our fullback, he was brilliant. McGoldrick in that, doing that, but they just couldn't get a chance, really, a gilt-edged chance, really. I agree that we don't look fit. We don't look as fit as any team we've played virtually. And I was really worried about some of our players. I think that midfield, going back to your question, midfield, I think if we're going to play two, Brown has to play. If we're going to play we were lacking last year a central midfielder that was who could stick a foot in, and then we signed Brown, and we think, oh great, we've got one now. And he's hardly played him there. He's certainly not played him there as a two, has he?
We need to look at the formation, don't we? So those three for me have to play. Those three midfielders, Morgan, Brown, and Honeyman, they all have to play. So we've got to be looking at
it is a conundrum, because that obviously the team setup that he started with on Saturday is his preferred setup. But as I said, he's got to play Fletcher then. He can't play Ennis and Taylor up front. He's got to play Fletcher and hope that he keeps dropping into midfield and giving a hand. Bowler dropped in, didn't he, from the right? He didn't play wide right all game, did he? He hardly. Every time we got the ball, I'm thinking, like, where's Bowler on the touchline? And he wasn't there. He was playing Banks wide.
Probably trying to lose his 2 or 3 markers that were on him constantly all game.
Yeah, he was thinking Imre's going to go past Bowler. So if he tucks Bowler in slightly. Now, when we signed Bowler, we said, Bowler himself said, my preferred position is wide right. And that's where he played his best football for us. But he's just, it's a bit of a hodgepodge, to be honest. And like someone saying that Honeyman's going to be out for a few weeks, so we're going to see some changes anyway, aren't we? So I think Brown and Morgan will be the two on Saturday, and we'll see where it takes us. But Like Morgan affects the game better for me when he's looking forward, when he's trying to break forward. He makes some brilliant runs in the back end of last season, right? But he's too many times he's coming back to between the centre halves virtually, trying to pick the ball up to look for a pinging 30, 45 yard ball. It's just not his strength. It's not his strength.
MB agrees. Not getting so passing very sloppy. Mitch, come to you. You had your monologue / rant at the end of last pod. Went down very well with the public. Were you? Was your mood lightened by that first half of football delicacy that you witnessed at Bloomfield Road? Was your mood lifted by what you saw? I'll wager not.
No, it wasn't. But I mean, I have through that monologue got a net 6-0 scoreline since I've had it. It was really poor, and I think both what Andy and Nick have said, I'd agree with. It was really poor, and for me, I suppose I've already said this, but Barnsley seemed to be able to just go down the pitch. And at one point, I watched and I counted, I think it was 11 passes that they made. And they went from the edge of their own box to the edge of our box. Nothing came of it. They put a cross in, we headed it away or whatever. But at no stage did they look under any pressure making those passes. They were playing, whether you'd call it high-risk football, but they were knocking it around sort of from their own box. And we very much made it low-risk football because we didn't press, we didn't unsettle them. Grice has already said it. David McGoldrick, 37 years old, looked like a proper player. He looked like he could still do it in the Premier League because we let him play. And I think that we neither had that nasty side that you get. You sometimes get a side that don't play much football, but they've got a really nasty side, and it can be really quite enjoyable watching sort of nasty, direct, rugged football that's all elbows and sort of straight lines and people running hard. And it can be really great watching a passing team, but we were neither really. We were just kind of nothing, and we seemed to max out at about 4 passes before we panicked and kicked it long. And I got really, really, really frustrated with this just giving the ball back to them, of getting the ball and then having it for about 5 seconds and then literally just giving the ball back to them with a hopeless pass. At half time I was pretty fed up. Barnsley aren't a bad side, but they're not Birmingham from last year or something. They haven't spent 15, 20 million on players. They're just a sort of reasonable, sort of somewhere in the top half League One side. And I think you nailed it before. You said we looked like we were playing, away at, I don't know, Tottenham in the cup or something, and not, the amount of respect we seem to give them. We're so deep. We were so deep the way we played, and it was frustrating.
And it's the same pretty much every home game this season. There's complete lack of press, lack of urgency. And the mood at half-time, Nick, was not good in that stadium, was it?
No, because, like you say, it just felt like a carry-on from previous games. And, this surely cannot be the plan. Like Mitch said, we're just sat deep, and you're just watching the opposition pressing, have a lot of the ball, and there's very few moments of enjoyment or where you can go, right, we've done something there, we're building something, looking forward to the second half. You say, we can get at these, they're susceptible. Well, you didn't see any of that because we didn't really do anything, did we? So yeah, it was pretty somber at half time, and then you're thinking, what's going to come in the second half? Thankfully it was better. We did get further up the field. We did press more. We did create a bit more. But why have that why have that first half to then go and do that? You can maybe understand it away from home where you're going up against a very good side, and it's like, let's keep ourselves in it and then just see if we can edge a chance maybe, but we're at home, like Mitch said. We're not playing a team who've spent a fortune. We should be the ones who are on the front foot.
Ben always says to me, Nick, he said this multiple times this season. He said, that's another half an hour, that's another 45 minutes of football that we've just wasted. We've given up.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, definitely.
Has there been any game this season where we've been the better team at home?
For a bit against Huddersfield, yeah.
We were down to 10 men.
Even the Huddersfield game, we were shocking for 10 minutes. We were really, really bad for 10 minutes. Then we scored.
We have spells, don't we? But we don't think to do 90 minutes.
20 minutes against Huddersfield, Andy. There's your answer.
There you go. That's what I'm. So the natives are restless with what's happening at the minute, and it feels like every game is a must-win from now on for Bruce, because, like, the fans are fed up with what they're seeing. You can't keep going. You can't have 4 home games and really not dominate a full half of football against anybody. You can't. You just won't. It won't happen, and the fans will just give up. And if it's turgid, and it feels like the players haven't got a clue, right, which is maybe not their fault, there's big questions on what's happening on the training ground. There's big questions what's being done. And the manager, at the end of the day, carries the can. So it's up to him to do those things, right? But we won't put up with any more of lackluster football with not much energy at home, where we're sucking teams on. And I mean, that looked like that first half on Saturday was that we were sucking them on and waiting to pounce and hoping that Bowler or Banks would, or we could clip a ball over to Ennis, whichever way. I mean, Banks showed some promise. Let's be fair. Banks showed some promise and he was trying to get shots away. But, you know, Bruce took over a team that was really well coached but badly organised. And now we've got a team that looks badly coached and badly organised at times. And we've got to sort it out. And it's on him. At the end of the day, it's on him to sort it out. I don't want to go all doom and gloom about it, but that's the facts. He's a football manager. We're the fans, and we won't put up with it. If we go and get hammered on Saturday, they won't. They'll let him know. If we go and win on Saturday, great. Then and he sorted it out, and he shows a bit more organisation and a way to counteract them, but also the way we impose ourselves on the opposition. Then great. Then he's got it. You know, but you're right. Before, the second half was better than the first half, but we can't have more first halves at home like that. It just won't happen.
Yeah, well said, Andy. Mitch, as Dave James said, the second half was better. We did get off to a good start. To be honest, that second half couldn't have been any worse than the first half. Oh, it can, obviously. We've heard that gag multiple times, but we did play better in the second half, and we were unlucky not to go one up with that Ennis chance that was followed by not one but 2 penalty shouts. In fact, Nick, I'll come to you to this because obviously we were nearer the action, weren't you? And you and I just talk us through what you saw.
Well, the shirt pull on
Fletch.
Looked. I mean, his shirt was like stretched, wasn't it? And he's literally pulled him off his feet. And then the second one was, went down on the challenge.
Do you think the ref was just trying to let the play go to see if we kind of scored from the passage of play and then give it? That's what I thought, because it was that obvious a penalty. It was nailed on.
But they're meant to be cracking down on all this sort of stuff this season, aren't they? You know, on like corners and jostling in the box and shirt pulling. And that one, it couldn't have been any more obvious. For me, I thought of the two, that was more so than it was the challenge on Ennis, wasn't it? Which was maybe not quite as clear cut. But you thought if he's not give the first one, maybe he makes up for it and gives the second. But no, it was. I thought the first one was.
The hilarious point you're missing to failing to recall was when their centre half was dead on the 6-yard box, motionless on the floor, sort of waiting for the physio to come on. I think he was hoping for the ref to stop the game. Then he saw Ennis go past him, and all of a sudden he rose like Lazarus, like Sam Oyston, didn't he, from the grave, and put in a brilliant tackle, and then fell down dead, half dead on the floor again. But brilliant tackle or pen. Yeah, you think one of those is going to be given?
Yeah, out of the two, I would say probably the shirt pull.
Any advantage of that down from the south for our South Stand boys? Probably a bit too far away, weren't we?
I think I gave up with these shirt pulling and things when I watched Medine peel off from the near post a couple of years ago, and the centre half had him in a headlock as they were running round. The lino's got an absolute perfect view of it. Nothing happened, and I think I gave up at that. But they're supposed to have be cracking down on the elongated pulling of the shirt. Not a quick tug is okay, apparently, but like once you pulling it for any length of more than a couple of seconds or whatever, then that's supposedly been a penalty. But like I think Nigel Clough, I saw something from Nigel Clough a bit today, and he said he's going to canvass all the managers in the EFL and all the captains in the EFL with one question: has the standard of officiating improved, yes or no? And if it's a resounding no, then someone has to do something about it, because I can see that question. It's pretty average, isn't it, some of it?
I thought the ref was all right though. Apart from that, he kind of let the game go. I've seen worse refs, but yeah. Apart from that penalty decision which he got wrong,
we didn't see that Ennis thing really. There was nothing. Mitch was there. There was you couldn't really make it out from our end.
Pen down the south end potentially for Barnsley, Mitch. Anything in that? Sort of a half shout, wasn't there?
I can't remember that one.
I watched that, and he looked for them. He looked for the man, and then bounced into him.
Well,
and then threw himself on the floor. No, but I was absolutely watching bang on him, and he looked for somebody to bounce into really, and then just threw himself on the floor. No, nowhere near a pen. A dive. In fact, I thought the referee was going to book him for diving because the referee saw it. Just, I thought he was going to do him for a dive, but he didn't.
Okay, Morgan half volley into the keeper's arms aside, but again, great technique from Morgan there, just to keep that down. Unfortunately, straight into the keeper's midriff, easy save, but lovely technique from Morgan. Always confident he's going to hit the spot from the target rather from those chances. Did anyone expect us to get that last minute winner going into 10 minutes? Big Dogs just saying there, rumours on Saturday, the stands if we got beat by Barnsley, Evo would be given the job. And was anyone else feeling like this?
I said to my grandson, I said, wouldn't this be a great time to score? Because there's no coming back from this. And then we don't score direct from the corner, but then CJ plays the ball to Taylor, who puts it back to Brown, and it goes in. And I just see the joy on my grandson's face, and he's just like staring in disbelief, jumping up and down, and like that's what you go to football for, and like moments like that are gold to a football fan, and my seeing the reaction on my grandson's face was everything. Is worth the season ticket money almost alone, if you get what I mean. Just the pure and pure joy, or pure unadulterated joy. And then seeing Peacock Farrell run down the pitch as well, and joining in, it's just it was great stuff. And like, it'll be long remembered by me just to see my grandson's face, if nothing else.
I think that pick up on what you said about Peacock Farrell. I mean, we've given them some stick this year, and we, depending on how generous you are, you say, well, they're undercoached, or they don't. If you're less generous, you say they don't look like they're arsed or whatever. But I think the reaction to the goal, and then actually the reaction to the final whistle 30 seconds later, the players looked absolutely delighted with it. Not just thank God we've got out of jail. They really did look like they were thrilled. They celebrated the goal like they just won the cup. And then when the whistle went, not 30 seconds later, they went through it all again, and they were jumping into each other's arms and lifting each other up. And, you could really feel that was something that they needed. I'm just picking up on what Philip said in the comments. I think they knew they needed that. And I think for me, the reaction didn't speak of a team that don't care. It didn't speak of a team. I didn't speak of a team either that had lost faith in each other, or possibly, had lost faith in the manager. It seemed like a team that were struggling, and a team that was struggling with, what wasn't working, and everything they tried didn't seem to come off, and they really needed that. Whether it's enough to turn the corner, because, I didn't think we were that great in the second half. I felt like we were better, and I felt like we did better in stopping Barnsley playing. Barnsley weren't as much of a threat, and they pumped it long a bit more in the second half, because we did do the basics. We disrupted Barnsley more, but really, Morgan had a shot from 25 yards straight at the keeper, and we had a shout. We had a shout for a penalty, and there wasn't much else. It wasn't like we sort of poured forward in waves of endless tangerine pressure. It wasn't sort of that kind of game where oh my God, we're never going to score. I really, really didn't think we were going to score, and I'm the most ridiculous. I was one of about 500 people who stayed at the last Preston game thinking, well, we could score 3 in the last 4 minutes. I always think we can do it, and I really didn't think we were going to score, because I didn't think we'd look like scoring.
Nick, a couple of people in comments, both from MB and Tony Lawson, we got away with it. And MB said, I feel like we got away with it, just being honest. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it was going to be a draw all day, and had Barnsley scored, would it have potentially been in the end of Steve Bruce? Because I was thinking, I'm actually not bothered if they score now in the final 10 minutes, if it means we get rid of this football. I wasn't bothered.
Well, yeah, I think it would have probably been a bit toxic. I think also as well, if we hadn't scored at the end, you'd have probably heard a few boos at the end if it had finished.
Not all. I think it'd be more than a few, I think.
Yeah. We didn't deserve to get beat. Whether we deserved to win it, I mean, they didn't create a lot, but neither did we. And I'm with Mitch. It probably maybe papers over the cracks a bit. I'm not thinking, right, that's the way we've got to play. Keep doing that, and we're not going to go far wrong. We've not turned the corner in that sense. If we go on Saturday and put that sort of performance, and then you could say maybe it's a building block, and Saturday's a building block. But if we go out and play and set up like we have done in quite a few of the away games this season, we're going to be in. I think we'll be in serious trouble again. So we will see.
If it ended up with a draw, would be bottom. That game had been drawn with a bottom.
I looked at the table and thought, my God, we really did need the win, didn't we? Just to try and start to climb our way out of the relegation zone, which obviously we're still in. But yeah, I still think it's a bit more. There's still stuff that is kind of niggling away at me in terms of I don't think this is just all of a sudden going to click if we keep doing what we're doing.
The jury is very much out, Grace Reaper.
Very much, yeah. And I think when Bruce was in interviews last year, it was great because we sort of he was speaking like we speak. It was like, and it sounded brilliant, and I thought this is great. However, over the last 2 or 3 weeks, he seems to have got more. I think someone used the word delusional. I don't think.
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say delusional.
Well, this is when a manager's coming out with delusional chats about the game that all the fans know isn't right. That's when you know trouble. You're all in trouble. Yeah, he's in trouble, and he is. And he's it's a big game on Saturday now, isn't it? It's a big game because we can't afford to go there and get turned over because the natives will be even more restless than they are now, and it won't be pretty.
Well, putting aside how we feel, I mean, it's a big game in the sense that we are 22nd. We could end up going bottom again. Well, we haven't been quite bottom yet, have we? We could end up going bottom, and if we don't start getting some points, then there really is nothing going to happen this season. It's already. I mean, I don't know how far we're off. I think we're 9 points off the edge of the playoffs. We've only played
13 off the top. We're 9 off 6th.
Yeah, every game we don't win, we're giving ourselves more and more and more to do, and the club, from the chairman down. Or from the owner down, the club has talked about its ambition being promotion, and there's been, quite a lot of money invested in the side, and there's been development off the pitch and so on. And Bruce has to, Bruce has been backed, hasn't he? So the further and further and further we get away from competing, and the more, you'd already look at the top and think, that's looking further away. But you think, well, 9 points to 6, but we're going to have to string some wins together and get climbing that table. Otherwise, it's going to be out of reach, regardless of what we think and regardless of what we feel and whether we boo or not and whether, whatever the mood is. The raw fact is we have to start winning some games of football. And I think, I really don't want to have Mitch's monologue too, but the stuff that I was concerned about in the original monologue, I thought, we put our foot in a bit more in the second half and we had a bit more presence. And I thought the central defence did well. That Barnsley had a lot of possession, put a lot of balls in. We've concentrated very much on the negative. We've all said we didn't want Iekwe to play, but he actually had a pretty decent game. Him and Casey played well together, and we defended a lot of balls into the heart of the box well. That's something we haven't been doing. So we tackled a bit more and we defended a bit better. But we created very little. We didn't have very many passes. There were very few sort of clever through balls. There were very few sort of linked up bits of joined up play. There wasn't a lot of instinctive stuff. There wasn't a lot of risk. We didn't we didn't kind of connect the different units of the team together. So I'd say probably 75% of the things that I've been concerned about, and I think Nick said, stuff that nags away at you, 75% of that we weren't actually that much better at. 25%, yeah, we were better at, and we did all right. But you can't win games just having a decent central defensive performance. You need the rest of it as well.
Okay.
Well, we did win the game. I just said you can't win games doing that, and we did win the game. So that would be the answer to that.
Could have quite easily have lost that game though. Couldn't we?
We could.
Look at the XG again, 0.59. Look at the accuracy of our passing, 68%. It does not bode well. Going to top of the table this weekend, could be a bridge too far. Unless we turn it around. But mate, is this going to be the spark that we need? That's this last minute winner and the pandemonium around it and the positivity.
I suppose we'll know it around 10 to 5 on Saturday, won't we? Depending on what the performance has been. You go in hope. You always do.
Yeah. Round the room then, player ratings for the Barnsley game. Let's start with you, Nick. Peacock, Farrell. For me, he's getting better with every game.
Yeah, he is. He does seem to have settled down a bit. I mean, he didn't have loads to do in the match, so I won't score him too high, but he didn't do a right lot wrong either. So I will go 7.
No clangers, so that's all good. Grice Reaper, let's start with Danny Imray for you. Probably our star man again. Would have said.
Shining light, I think. 9. Just he was really. He just puts it all in, doesn't he? He was absolutely knackered, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He like 5 minutes to go, he was stretching, and he looks like he was going to pull up with cramp any minute. But he really had a good go, didn't he? Up and down. Yeah, very good. 9.
Andy, Heckway. A few people saying it's his best game yet, but that's quite a low bar to get over, to be honest.
Go to Mitch for that one.
Go on then.
Yeah, I thought Heckway did all right. I can't remember a trademark Heckway weird pass or sort of scoop to somebody or run away from the ball. If he'd played like that every game, then we'd be perfectly happy with him at this point. So I'll go 7+.
Andy, Ollie Casey made the goal, so held the ball up like a great number 9 in the box, and a nice little layoff for Brown. Obviously, that's him in the attacking sense.
I called him Taylor before.
You did? I did notice that.
Taylor. So, just to put things right before I
give him
get
another point
anymore.
I think what you were going to give him another point.
Yeah, I didn't have my glasses on. That's what in answer to the question. He's a good player, Casey, and he did okay. Clean sheet in it. 8.
Okay, Nick. Hayden Coulson came in for a bit of grief over the last 2 games. How do you think he performed in the Barnsley game?
I think it was a game of 2 halves for him. Looked a bit shaky at times in the first half, but had a decent second half. He does like a sliding tackle in the rain, doesn't he? One of those ones where you think he's perhaps not favourite to get this, but then he sprints in and wins it and gets the crowd going. Like I say, it was a game of 2 halves for him.
Take a first half score and a second half score and meet it in the middle. Then.
Yeah, so I'd maybe go 5 and 7+. So I'll go 6+.
Good use of the FPRS there. The great man is in Italy, by the way, if anyone's wondering. Poncing around vineyards and the like, wearing pastel-coloured chinos. I'll be back next pod. Okay, Josh, Mitch, over to Josh Bowler.
Yeah, it wasn't
the enigma that is Josh Bowler.
Indeed, it wasn't the performance that I wanted from him. Really, he was more, rather than being electric, he was a bit more wind up, wasn't he? He was like one of those. If you ever got one of them wind up radios when you were a kid, and you could wind the handle and they'd work for about 3 minutes and then it'd all fade out. That was more like him. He didn't look fit to me. I was watching him first half. I don't know if anybody else noticed this, but after about half an hour, he went for a sprint and he was holding his the back of his thigh for ages. And he was sort of limping around for quite a long time. And I thought, they'll bring him off now. And they didn't. They left him on. I mean, whether that was him wanting to play on or whether that was them in Steve Bruce's old style ways going, bloody hell, games will get you. He's not from Yorkshire, is he? Bloody hell, games will get you fit, lad, or whatever. He'd looked really good on Tuesday. I'd gone on Tuesday probably mostly with the hope of seeing Bowler. And he came on for half an hour and he looked fantastic. He looked athletic. He looked intelligent. He looked sharp. He skinned a few players. He played some lovely passes. He had that shot that rattled the bar. He was everything that you'd want him to be. and a little bit more. And then this game, he just did not look on it at all. Whether it was the position, but I'm not convinced it was just the position, because a couple of times he went on runs and it was like he didn't have any acceleration there. It was like he just sort of went to go. There was one point in the first half where he took the ball down. He thought, right, here we go. And he just sort of walked into the fullback like CJ might. And I thought, I'm not convinced he was well, not even fully fit. He looked quite a long way off being fit. So yeah, couple of good passes, but that was about it. 5.
Good shout there, Dennis. Keogh made sure Bowler was man marked.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I did think that watching the game. I thought, certainly first half, I thought Keogh has been and told them exactly what we're going to do. Okay,
ground sweeper Judge Honeyman injured out as well for a couple of weeks, which is a bit of a blow. Not one of his best, most. What's the word?
Not his best game. Not his best game. He puts the effort in. But I don't know. I can't look any more than a 6 for him.
Yeah, that's fair. Nick, up to you. I'll be more
probably the same. I think a 6. But I do think that, you know, both with Morgan and Honeyman, they're quite often overrun and having to do a lot of stuff that we probably don't need them to be doing, and not able to do enough of the stuff that they're really good at, because we're getting overrun. So I have a degree of sympathy. I don't think we're setting them up to be to play to their strength, really. But yeah, he wasn't great. So I will go 6.
Okay, Mitch. Scott Banks looked lively again. Unfortunately, he went off injured. And has anyone heard anything about the injury or the length of the injury?
No,
or is he injured?
Bruce didn't refer to the injury after the game. He sort of skipped over it. He sort of went, so not Bowler. Who was the other? Who else went off? Honeyman. We've just said it.
Honeyman.
Yeah, he said Honeyman and Banks going off. That's not ideal. And Bruce did his usual. Didn't wait for the end of the question, and then said, "Yeah, Honeyman. He reckons he'll be out for 2 or 3 weeks. Felt his calf straight away. Knew what was going on." And then the interview just went on to the next question. And I was thinking, well, ask him about Scott Banks, but you know. He didn't. So I've not heard anything since. Banks, I really like. I like that he can go both ways. I like he's got 2 feet. He's always looking to shoot. He's got a bit of skill as well. He looks like a proper footballer. And I think apart from Imre, he was the one player who I thought, yeah, he might do something today. He was the sort of the player who, when the ball went to, my hopes got up a little bit. So yeah, Banks, what is it? 7+. Decent enough performance.
Ground sweeper, Niall Ennis.
Again, not his best game, but like suffers tremendously for a lack of service, I think. Well, we've got no one to stick a ball through to him. He's gonna struggle, isn't he? 6 again, really. I don't think we can go any higher, and he's not really affected the game too much. But I feel sorry for him as well, because his service is minimal.
Nick, just to wrap this up, Ash Fletcher, had one of his better games for me. Putting himself about again, linking the play well.
Yeah, and you know that's what we've said all along, and that's what he's very good at, isn't it? That link-up play. You know, when he kind of drops into that space. I'll give him a 7.
Okay, manager rating should be interesting. Mitch.
I wasn't expecting a manager rating. 4. Appalling first half, but he did get them 4+ because we won the game. Appalling first half, predictable setup on all of that. But definitely, you know, he definitely got what needed to be said across to them at half time, and we played better second half. So yeah, you've got to acknowledge that.
Andy,
harsh for a game we've won.
what did you say?
Is it harsh for a game we've won 4+? Is that entitled?
Well, first half score and second half score come in the middle. And that's you. You've got. So, what's your?
I'm 5.
It's like an 8 and a 4, isn't it? 7 and a 4 for me. 4 and 7. So 5, Andy. Yeah.
5.
Yeah. So, not a great performance, but we've got the job done, and 3 points in the bag. But luckily, we've got an easy game coming up. Bradford away, top of the table, unbeaten at home, played for, won for, and Nick shared a great article in our podcast group about the tactical acumen of Graham Alexander and how they play. Nick, I've read the article, and it filled me with dread for what's about to hit us on Saturday.
Well, 3-0 win incoming. You know how football works. No, but you do read it and think, they just sound like a clear plan, high press, win the ball back. I think it was a 3-4-2-1. Like you say, played 4-1-4 at home. They've beaten Cardiff, Huddersfield, Stockport, Luton, and then Wimbledon and Wickham in the wins. Drawn with Posh and Northampton, and one loss in a sort of derby against Doncaster. Don't have a lot of possession. I think when the article was written, it was 3 weeks ago, and they averaged 40%. So and they were quite low in accurate passing stats as well. So they're not one of these teams that has 70% possession and just has loads of it knocking about the back, not doing a right lot with it, possession for possession's sake. But they're obviously very, very effective with the possession they do have when they've got the ball. So
high press, shaky defenses, don't they? Aggressive, high pressing team against shaky defenses. What could possibly go wrong?
Yeah, well, like I say, football's a funny old game, isn't it? So you never know. But if we turn up like we have done in some of those away games, playing against a team like that, we've said all along that all teams haven't had to be brilliant to beat us, have they? They've just had to be well organised and press. And it sounds like they're all about that. So we're gonna have to be on it. It's gonna be tough, isn't it? It's gonna be tough.
I think sorry, Mitch. Mansfield pressed us, and we never looked like we had any answers to that. My mate's a Bradford fan. He's in a band in Lanzarote, Gaza. He's a great lad, but he obviously is watching all their games on stream, and he sent me a note during their game at Cardiff last week, and just put his words were, "We are excellent," and it's just couldn't be two different views on how we are as a team. They think they're excellent, and we playing excellent, and we're worried about what's coming next. Sorry, Mitch.
It's all right. I just on top of Nick's stats, I just had a sneaky look at them there. They've scored 10 goals in open play this year. We've scored 2. 4 of our goals are set piece goals, by far our biggest area. And I think one of our goals is an own goal as well. I'll just check that. Yeah, own goals. So half of our goals have been set piece goals.
Oh, they've got Curtis Tilt as well, and Matt Pennington. Obviously, Graham Alexander with his
still there.
Yeah, apparently. Yeah.
I thought he'd gone somewhere.
That's what it says on their squad list. Maybe he's gone. The brilliantly named Max Power.
Yeah, he was at Wigan, wasn't he, Max Power? Yeah, Tilt is still there. You're right.
Don't need the best players, do you? You need to be the most organised and all believe in what you're doing, right? We've seen that with a few teams of ours. We don't need to be the best team. The best team, we don't need to be the best players. We need to be the best team as a group, all believe in what we're doing and and all pulling in the same direction, and you're on a winner there, aren't you?
Although we are on a roll, Nick. 2 wins from 2. Let's try and flip it. How do we beat this Bradford side?
Well, I suspect we'll probably sit back and try and get something on the counter. I mean, I don't know if Banks is going to be fit. There's a question mark there, isn't he? But obviously, if he is, and we've got Bowler on the wing, you'd hope that we can maybe get him out wide, because I think through the centre, obviously there'll be no Honeyman, so it's probably going to be Albion and Brown in there. I'm sure he will go 4-4-2. I'll be very surprised if we don't. It'd be nice if we didn't, but I think we will. So it's
nice.
probably out. It's probably
it'd be
nice
if some of the Steves got into his ear and tried to get him out of this 4-4-2 at all cost mentality. I'm sure they've all got badges. I'm sure they've all experienced coaching and managing in different formations. So
yeah, maybe Bloxham comes back in on the bench. Maybe obviously he's been frozen out the last couple of games, hasn't he? Yeah,
exploit the space left behind the high press from Daz. Yeah, it's not bad.
That's probably the best chance we've got. I think that we can get something maybe on the counter. I expect we will probably sit. We're going away. In his view, we're going away to top of the league. Let's try and not get beat. But I don't think we can spend 90 minutes sitting deep, because we're not defensively strong enough to do that. Yeah, we'll see. But you never know, do you? Like I say, it's a funny old game, isn't it? And it's things like this that could be a turning point, even if it looks very unlikely, which it is. But they're not world beaters, are they? They've had a very good start. I think someone said in the comments that they're probably riding a bit of a wave of promotion as well from last season, which can, you can get on a roll, can't you? So, and there you go, MB. So we'll see. We're going to do predictions in a minute, aren't we? So I'll probably got one with my head and one with my heart.
Okay, I'll start with you, Mitch. David Coleman's just put something out there. 2 clean sheets in a row. And I believe that's our first league clean sheet in 14 games. So that's something to build on, I guess. But yeah, give us your thoughts on the game and what the score's going to be.
Well, on Bradford game, well, I think, I can't remember who it was said hit him on the break, and because they'll press us high, that could suit us if we get the set up right. And Ennis does look. He plays on that edge, doesn't he? He was a bit like he's a bit like a Keegan Parker tribute act on Saturday with the number of his offsides, but he does play very well on that edge, on that's kind of right up against the defence. So defensively, bit stronger. Strong defence should give the attack the confidence. I am going to go for Bradford City 1, Blackpool 2.
Turning point, Blackpool. Grice Reaper, gives you thoughts.
So don't come to me, lass. Those you're really in trouble. My last visit to Bradford. Mitch has mentioned Keegan Parker there. My last visit to Bradford, I copped a right earful from Keegan Parker for questioning his effort.
What's this all about? Go on, tell us.
Well, my last visit to Bradford, I think Parker had been taken off, and it was pretty poor that night. So I questioned his lack of effort and copped a right earful back. And
could you understand what he was saying though in that Glaswegian accent?
It was a few expletives, I can tell you. But anyway, I am going back to normal. Bradford 3, Blackpool 1.
Nick, are you going to flip this round? A bit of positivity. The voice of reason. What do you say?
Well, if I said the voice of reason, I'd be saying 2-0 defeat. But let's finish on a positive and just I'm going to go 0-1 to us. I'm not quite sure how we're going to manage it, but We'll have a good following there, so we can get behind him, and fingers crossed.
You know what happens whenever we ever have a big following at away games, don't you?
Yeah. Yeah.
When was the last away game? There's a question. When was the last away game we won with a really good following? Maybe Huddersfield. Huddersfield didn't do too bad, did we? We won last year.
Yeah, that first Bruce.
That wasn't a massive following.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll take too long to remember, and it's 10:05.
Coventry in the Championship, Appleton.
On that weirdly hot October evening, wasn't it?
Maybe.
Remember. Right, I'll round things up. I'll round the predictions off with a Tim-style 3-0 defeat. I think they're going to score an early goal. 18,000 Bradford fans. The noise they make, and I think we're going to capitulate. And
has Eddie been on it? Yeah.
What for the predictions?
He suffered from the Eddie predictions.
Yeah, he's still top. 28 points. You're actually third, Andy, 16th.
Only because I back us to lose every week.
Oh, that's what Eddie generally does, yeah.
My relentless approach of predicting a quite large Blackpool win hasn't yet paid off, but
Mitch, you are 32nd on 3 points. I'm ever so slightly above you on 30th on 4 points. Nick, you're 11th on 12. If anyone wants to know what about, that's the Patrons Predictions League. If you do want to sign up, patreon.com/CSigners-pod. You get access to the game and all sorts of other great stuff like ad-free audio of this pod, mastered audio, and early release and access to our WhatsApp group and all other good stuff. Right, I think we'll leave it there. As Nick said, it is very late.
And our WhatsApp group.
Yeah, fantastic WhatsApp group. Yeah, got Raggy ranted in there, Starmer's Britain, and all that great stuff. Right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining us as ever, chaps. Thanks to everyone in the comments. Things can only get better, eh? Should we play out with a bit of D-Ream or a bit of Andy?
We won. We won.
We did.
I want us to win. I want us to win. I'll be there. I want us to win.
It can get a lot worse, John. We won the bloody game. It could have been up, really.
You'll all be brought back down to earth when we lose 3-0 on Saturday. All right. See you later, everyone. Bye.
Been involved in 2. Can he make 3? Not on this occasion. Well taken by Walsh. Davis is on the far side. Ainscough coming square. That's the ball. That's a good try!